1 through 11, which is in page 653 on the Pew Bibles. And I always like to have a little bit of background on Scripture, so I was going to read what my Bible says about Hosea. And it says, the purpose is to illustrate God's love for his sinful people. And it's written to Israel, the northern kingdom. And the setting is Hosea began his ministry during the end of the prosperous but morally declining reign of Jeroboam II of Israel. The upper classes were doing well, but they were oppressing the poor. And he prophesied until shortly after the fall of Samaria, which is 722 BC. So this is Hosea prophesying to the people of Israel during the prosperous time, and they were oppressing the poor. And so the title, so that's page 653 on the Old Testament, and the title, the caption above this is God's love for Israel. So 1 through 11. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. But the more I called Israel, the further they went from me. They sacrificed to the Baals, and they burned incense to images. It was I who taught Ephraim to walk, taking them by the arms, but they did not realize it was I who healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with ties of love. I lifted the yoke from their neck and bent down to feed them. Will they not return to Egypt, and will not Assyria rule over them because they refuse to repent? Swords will flash in their cities and will destroy the bars of their gates and put an end to their plans. My people are determined to turn from me. Even if they call to the Most High, he will by no means exalt them. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, Israel? How can I treat you like Admah? How can I make you like Zeboim? My heart is changed within me. All my compassion is aroused. I will not carry out my fierce anger. Nor will I turn and devastate Ephraim, for I am God and not man, the Holy One among you. I will not come in wrath. They will follow the Lord, and he will roar like a lion. When he roars, his children will come trembling from the west. They will come trembling like birds from Egypt, like doves from Assyria. I will settle them in their homes, declares the Lord. Okay, so that was 1 through 11. And then the second passage that Keith is going to talk on here, and Keith is going to be with us remote, is Luke 12, 13 to 21. And that is on page 57 of the New Testament of the Pew Bibles. So Luke 12, 13 to 21. And this is Jesus telling a parable about the rich fool, and it's sandwiched in between Jesus speaking out on hypocrisy and Jesus warns about worry. So good group of parables in chapter 12 here. So this is Luke 12, verses 13 to 21. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." And Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me judge and arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man produced a good crop, and he thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." And then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you, and then you will get what you have prepared for yourself. This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself but is not rich toward God." All right, so I think now,
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to Sugar Creek Mennonite Church, as well as a view into the bedroom, one of the spare bedrooms of our home. It was our wish, Connie and I, that we would be there with you this morning in Iowa. For the last 6+ years or so, we have vacationed at the Shepherd's Inn at Crooked Creek Christian Camp, and it's our favorite vacation. In fact, I think it's not an exaggeration to say we enjoyed it so much there that we actually decided that when there was an opening for a pastor at Sugar Creek Mennonite Church, that maybe we'd look into that because we enjoyed Iowa so much. Unfortunately, some circumstances have arisen, and I have some very difficult news to share with you this morning. It's difficult for me, and it's going to be even harder for you. The last 2 months of our tenure at Sugar Creek Mennonite when we were living in Iowa, I wasn't feeling very well. I could still function. I wasn't debilitated, but something wasn't right. And to make a long story short, after coming back home to New York and going through some tests and a number of exams and CT scans and all kinds of things, unfortunately, I have been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer stage 3. I don't know what that means, and I know this is difficult news for all of you. And I can just imagine I've just taken the air out of the sanctuary at Sugar Creek Mennonite Church. I wish I could be there to share this with you in person, but that simply could not happen. The next steps in this process, tomorrow, Monday, August 4, Connie and I will be going to visit an oncologist to get on schedule for chemotherapy treatments. And then on Tuesday, August 5th, I'll be having a port put in, and my treatments will start shortly after that. So, what do you think of that, folks? I don't anticipate that we will be coming out to Iowa at all in August like we had planned. This is probably about a 3-month process from what I understand, and hopefully there will be prep for surgery after that, and then we'll see what happens. I did share this with the elders, so they are aware. There are also a couple other people out in Iowa that are aware of this, but for the most part, this is the first announcement that we're making. I also wanted to share this during the sermon time so that those who are tuning in via online will also be able to have this news and to understand what's happening in our lives for this latest chapter. I do have some other thoughts. We had a great time at the Mennonite Church USA convention. There are 3 things that stand out about that convention for me. The first is the youth group, that great youth group that we have. At Buffalo Sabres hockey games, sometimes during breaks, they play the song by the Backstreet Boys called I Want It That Way. Well, I will never hear that song again without thinking of those gals from the youth group that performed that song during the karaoke concert at the Mennonite Church USA convention, where the youth were especially invited. I didn't even recognize them on stage, but boy, they were hip, and they were singing quite well. The guys also did a rendition of the song Tequila, which it was briefly suggested to change the word tequila to water to make it more Mennonite. But then that didn't happen. They did it with tequila anyway, and it was funny, and it was a lot of fun. It was also fun seeing the youth group get so much into that evening and be such a support for other talent that was on stage. I think you heard about that during the presentation that the youth had at the church a few weeks ago, which we were delighted to tune in and be able to hear. Had a lot of fun with the youth out there, interacting with them, crashing their pizza party. It was just a good time, and we have an outstanding group of young people. The second thing that comes to mind, people would see us and they'd see my name tag as being from Lowellville, New York, and they would say, well, where are you now? And I'd say, well, during the school year, we anticipate being out in Iowa at Sugar Creek Mennonite Church. And then during the summers, we're back in Lowellville, as I have some duties over the summers and our family is here. So basically, I have summers off. That always elicited some curious questions and comments. But one of the most interesting things I heard was there is a pastor who, during the Mennonite Church USA convention, met with a church in another state that she was considering perhaps traveling to be the pastor there. And she said, you know, I just learned about a church in Iowa that gives their pastor the summers off. And that's just something I'm wondering if you'll consider, because that would make it a lot easier for me to come out and be with you, if maybe you'd think of something like that. Not only that, one of the conference ministers for another conference, a conference larger than Central Plains, I believe, has known about our arrangement, and she has started to suggest to some of her congregations, as they talk to possible interim pastors or transitional pastors, that they might consider this, possibly giving a pastor the summer off while employing them for the rest of the year. And there seems to be quite a bit of interest in following this pattern. And this conference minister says, I'm going to remember this for you guys, talking to us. I'm going to remember this and suggest this to other churches. So, unwittingly, Sugar Creek Mennonite Church might be paving the way for some future pastorates in Mennonite Church USA. Who would have known that? The third thing that comes to mind is my gratitude and thankfulness that you as a church chose to stay with Mennonite Church USA. I know that there was probably a lot of controversy and a lot of difficulty in that decision. I know there were some people who probably felt Sugar Creek should leave Mennonite Church USA, and when that didn't happen, they left. I think that probably did happen. But I do believe that it was the right decision to stay with the larger conference that still offers so many resources for our congregations. Connie and I learned of a church that's pretty close to us that we know that has 5 elders. We'd only have 3 here at Sugar Creek. This church had 5 that had pulled out of Mennonite Church USA a few years ago. It was largely at the urging of the pastor. But now 3 of these elders were attending Mennonite Church USA conference and were feeling like they wished they hadn't done that. They made their decision in haste. Whether you made the right decision or not, as a congregation here at Sugar Creek Mennonite Church, I applaud you for staying the course, for staying with it. And it appears that we had a good convention. It appears that Mennonite Church USA is healthy. The attendance at the convention was better than expected. The motel was sold out. There seemed to be a great spirit there. And again, all those youth, not only from our church, but other churches as well, enthusiastically getting in on the activities and worship and offering their words of wisdom to those of us in the older generation. That was definitely a blessing. So I think you've made good decisions as a congregation. Now I'm actually going to get to a little bit of a sermon for you this morning. Some of you are probably panicking right now, all this introduction and just getting to the sermon now. Well, it's a short one. This passage from Luke that was read is pretty self-explanatory about how a man's possessions, instead of him possessing them, they are starting to possess him. And he decides he's going to accumulate even more as his life goes on. And then he learns that his life is going to be useless after that moment. It's going to end on that night. The message is fairly clear from Jesus. Don't let material things overtake your life, but focus on those things that are eternal, that are heavenly. That's an old message, and we're aware of that, and we've heard it many times. But it's one that's making me think especially this morning about where our treasures lie. I also wanted to point out a couple of the other passages that were suggested for this morning. One was from Hosea, chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. Got my Bible right here. And there is a description of how God is treating Israel during this time, and he's very angry because the people have left him and have started chasing other things other than heavenly things. And God says, "It was I who taught you to walk, and I took you up in my arms, but you didn't even know that I healed you." I really like that picture of when a parent is teaching a child to walk, and the child staggers toward the parent, and the parent lifts the child up in his arms and gives him a big hug, and the child gives the parent a hug. It's one of the most intimate things that parents and grandparents can do with their children. And that is what God is waiting to do for us if we just put our priorities in the right place, if we put our treasures into the right place. There's also a great passage in Ecclesiastes, which was also another suggestion, a lectionary suggestion for this morning. And it's about the vanity of pleasure and wealth. It says it right here. "I will make a test of pleasure, and I'll enjoy myself, but behold, this also is vanity. Here's a story of a very wealthy man. Some believe it was Solomon. I'm not sure that it was. But whoever it was someone very wise and someone very wealthy and someone who had put a lot of effort into accumulating and building bigger barns and gathering more in the storehouses, and then at the end finding out that it's all meaningless. This is one that especially speaks to me this morning. It's not why I chose this passage, but it's an afterthought that from what I'm going through, I suddenly look at my earthly possessions and they're useless to me. It's like I don't even want them anymore. I just like to get my health back. I'd like to see you folks again, which I think I will. I just don't know when that'll be or for how long. But I'm starting to realize that so many things that I've chased in life are just vanity and not worthwhile. And this writer in Ecclesiastes is telling us that that day's going to come for all of us when we realize that our earthly kingdom really doesn't mean a whole lot. The question is, how soon will that come? Apparently, for this writer in Ecclesiastes, he had gone past a tipping point where he realized that he was spending more time on his earthly pleasures than he should have been. The person in the book of Luke that Jesus was talking about, the parable that Jesus was telling, that is someone who had gone past a tipping point and had suddenly put more emphasis onto earthly things than heavenly things. There is a tipping point where we put our emphasis on the wrong thing. There's something else in this Ecclesiastes passage that I find kind of interesting and just a little bit funny. I'm just going to read these verses to you. I hated all my toil in which I had toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool. That's kind of funny. Do some of you think that about a kingdom you have built, and maybe you're wondering who you're going to leave that to? And yet this man will be the master of all for which I toiled and used my wisdom for under the sun. And this also is vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toils of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a man who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave it all to be enjoyed by a man who did not toil for it. This is also vanity and a great evil. I guess I understand sometimes why parents do not leave their inheritance to their children, but want to make their children work for it. But in other cases, that doesn't happen. I just thought that was interesting that bothered the man of Ecclesiastes, that someone else was going to gain his kingdom and didn't even work all that much for it. So those are some thoughts I have this morning. I am thankful for the prosperity of the people of Southeast Iowa and for the prosperity that I believe the people at Sugar Creek Mennonite Church enjoy, at least for the most part, and for the generosity that you have shown as a congregation. And I believe it is important that there are people in our communities who are prosperous, who are successful, who are wealthy, that can give aid and jobs and help to those who are in need, and that when a need comes up, they're there to supply it. And I hope that is the case with you all if you are finding yourself in that position today. Just beware that there's a tipping point where sometimes we start thinking more about the kingdom of ourselves than we do about the kingdom of God. So that's the question I leave you with this morning. Where is the tipping point? And what are you doing with your time and with your money? My closing thoughts this morning. We talked about this at the elders meeting. We had an online elders meeting. By the way, we're going to have another one Tuesday night. If you have any questions about the future of the church or any concerns, please share those with an elder. We are going to be meeting again Tuesday evening. We were reminded by Matt that we all felt like the Spirit was leading us when it came time for us to move to Southeast Iowa. And I believe that. And now it makes me wonder, were we missing something? Was there some sign there that we didn't see? I was sick at the time and didn't even know it. That would have changed things if I had known that. But I didn't know that. And we got so much encouragement, and things worked out so well, and so many things fell into place. It just felt like it was the leading of the Spirit. This morning, I am choosing to remind ourselves that I have to believe that it was still the Spirit's leading that we come there. Even if it ends up only being for a short time, That time has been a blessing to us, and I hope it's been for you too. And who knows? It may be for a long time yet. That's the unknown that we don't have. So I leave you with some lines from some songs that my uncle's group, the Choraliers, have sung. These first two songs were sung at my mother's funeral, which was not a happy occasion. She died very young. But the song was called I Believe in the Sun. And the 6 representatives of the Choraliers that were there singing sang the words, I believe in the sun, even when it isn't shining. I believe in love, even when there's no one there. And I believe in God, even when he is silent. And then a second song that they sang, God did not bring us this far to leave us. So I leave you with those thoughts this morning, that I still believe. I believe in the Spirit. I believe in you as a congregation. I know that you will find the best path forward. I thank you for your help and for your prayers. And I don't believe that God brought us this far just to strand us without any thought of how we're going to go into the future. So please keep relying on the Spirit as we move in the days ahead. And the third song, we will take it just one day at a time, sweet Jesus. Blessings to you as a congregation as you continue to do God's work in the community. And I will be praying for you as well. And I thank you for this opportunity to share with you and look forward to the day when I can pound the pulpit again and lay it on you. Blessings, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Wow. Well, the Spirit's been leading because last Sunday the Spirit gave me Standing on the Promises of God as the responding song for this Sunday. And I truly think and I truly believe that standing on the promises of God is what we have to stand on. There's nothing else. And I'm very thankful that this song is not even in any of the hymnals. Anyone who's 50 years of age and older knows it. Those of you under 50, I don't know if you know it, but you'll learn it, and it's pretty awesome. And I'm very thankful that some people have agreed to come help me sing it with all of you. The words will be on the screen. But that we hold on to standing on the promises as we move forward as a church. So those of you who said yes to coming and helping me, please come up. Standing on the promises of Christ my King, through eternal ages let his praises ring. Glory in the highest I will shout and sing, standing on the promises of God. And if you're like, was it Orpha or Vi? They said they couldn't get this song out of their head this past week when I asked them, where is it? Hopefully this will sing in your head the rest of this year.